What's up guys, it's your favorite Q coach. Welcome back to another video. In this particular video, we're going to be doing a deep dive analysis on David Ledbetter, the infamous David Ledbetter. So without further ado, let's go do this thing. If you guys are just tuning into this series, we're actually doing a 4-part video series where we take a look at Sean Foley, David Ledbetter, and Butch Harmon. And then in the last video, we're going to kind of compare all of their theories and kind of figure out, hey, is there one better than the other? Can we even make that type of claim? So if you're interested in this, let's get into David Ledbetter. So a lot of you guys probably don't know, but David Ledbetter did start out as a professional golfer. He played on the European and South African tours. However, it looks like he didn't have very much success. However, he was very much interested in swing mechanics, which if you talk to a lot of golf instructors, it's a very similar story. A lot of people who want to be professional golfers who just weren't quite good enough tended to start looking into mechanics because they're trying to figure out why they weren't quite good enough. And then ultimately it tends to lead him down the road of golf instruction. So right around the time when he was around 28 to about 35, I'm not quite sure of the exact age, however, he met Nick Faldo, and from there he went on teaching Nick Faldo, who then won 6 major championships and became world number 1 in the world. And that's exactly what popularized David Ledbetter and really kind of spurred his career. Now moving into the current day, David Ledbetter has taught players who have won 26 major championships as well as 150 individual tournaments throughout the whole world, which is pretty impressive. And if you go through his major champion list, he has Kathy Baker, Ian Baker Finch, Ernie Els, Nick Faldo, Trevor Immelman, Danielle King, Lydia Ko, Sayre Park, Suzanne Pedersen, Nick Price, Michelle Wie. He has a pretty star-studded list right there in terms of all the major champions, and he's also taught a lot more professional golfers personally himself or from any of the instructors that he's certified. They also teach quite a bit of professional golfers as well. Some other interesting highlights of David Ledbetter is he's written 8 books that have sold over 2 million copies, which is ridiculous as well. I've checked out his online website. He has an online academy for instructors who he then teaches those instructors to either work at his golf academies or just get certified from him so they can kind of market themselves. Also, he has an online academy for you, the client out there as well, with a huge video library that has all the videos you could potentially want to kind of work on your golf swing. He just partnered with Golf Zone, which if you guys don't know Golf Zone, in Japan at least, there's a bunch of them. It's an indoor facility where you can literally hit off mats that kind of move like this to simulate on the course. You can play rounds of golf at your favorite golf courses that you know. It's a pretty unique facility that in Japan at least is incredibly popular. So he's got a lot going on with his business currently. Last, in terms of family, he's actually married himself an LPGA Tour professional, Kelly Ann, I believe. They have sons Andy and James and daughter Haley that they all live in Florida. So looks like he's an all-around golf type of guy, which personally, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. My wife also is very much into golf, and my kid is also a little baby, but I'm sure he's going to be very much into golf as well. So very interesting on that fact. Let's go hop in now maybe to some negative sides of David Ledbetter. Now, with all that success, you're going to have people that are critical of you, and David Ledbetter is no exception. He has plenty of people that have been critical about him in the past. Specifically in this video, I'm going to talk about an incident with Tiger Woods, which I thought was really funny. I'm also going to talk a little bit about Lydia Ko and Michelle Wie, how a lot of people think that David Ledbetter ruined those two players' careers. And then ultimately, we're going to end up with the A swing and how he pivoted away from this traditional golf swing that he taught to Nick Faldo to now teaching this new modern swing, which very interestingly came at a time to where he might needed to have rebranded himself because he was losing a lot of popularity. So it's interesting about that part as well. So let's go talk about Tiger Woods. So the Tiger story goes like this. Back in 1997, Tiger Woods burst out on the scene, winning a couple PGA Tour tournaments, and a lot of people were hyping him up. However, David Ledbetter apparently was not really a big fan of Tiger Woods, and he made an infamous quote that goes as such. Basically, Tiger Woods didn't have a chance of winning a major championship in the foreseeable future because Tiger Woods didn't know how to dial back his swing speed. He didn't know how to hit the finesse shots that were needed to win a major championship. So hence, Tiger Woods didn't have a chance to win a major championship in the foreseeable future. However, unfortunately for David Ledbetter, Tiger Woods went on to win 2 months later the Masters Championship, which I'm sure you guys all saw, the 1997 Masters Championship, and it was kind of a big middle finger to David Ledbetter. Now, moving into Lydia Ko and Michelle Wie, which are 2 great examples of players who could potentially have been a whole lot better if they had not gone to David Ledbetter. Now, at this time, David Ledbetter was primarily starting to teach the A-swing, and specifically with Lydia Ko, what we found was when she switched to the A-swing, we saw that she did not play anywhere near at the same level that she was playing before. Again, she was world number one. She was winning a bunch of tournaments, winning a bunch of major championships as a teenager, just completely dominating. However, once she started to work with David Ledbetter, we really just saw her play decrease quite significantly, as well as she kind of is now just an average LPGA Tour player. Obviously, she's a little bit probably better than average LPGA Tour player, but the argument goes she could have been maybe one of the best ladies to ever play on the LPGA Tour. But at this current time, it doesn't seem like she's going to have that type of potential anymore just based off her current play. Now, the argument with Lydia Ko is, what David Ledbetter is saying, is that her parents are very much involved in the day-to-day with Lydia Ko, as well as they're really strict and harsh on her. So maybe that her parents kind of controlling her as much is really kind of hurting Lydia's play, but I'm sure when Lydia was a teenager, she was also getting that same type of control. So hopefully at this time, maybe she's used to it, or hopefully at this time she can kind of give the middle finger to her parents and say, hey, I made millions of dollars, go F off. I don't really know what's the deal is. However, you can definitely see that the play is nowhere near as good as she was as a teenager. Now, Michelle Wie's story is going to be very similar to Lydia Ko. However, there are some differences. The main criticism that Michelle Wie got back in the day was going to be she played on the PGA Tour with the men when she should have been playing on the LPGA Tour with the women, with the competition that she's going to be facing throughout her career. Now, personally, I don't feel like that there's anything wrong with what she did. I actually felt like, if anything, it probably helped her. More so where I felt like Michelle Wie went wrong was just her lack of motivation with golf throughout her career. You could kind of see it as a young kid. She had all this talent. She had all the pressure in the world from not only just her parents, but also kind of from the golf industry. Everyone wanted her to be kind of the Tiger Woods of the LPGA Tour. And unfortunately for her, I felt like that put a lot of pressure on her, as well as it really kind of demotivated her. And eventually what you kind of saw was really just, she wasn't really motivated to play golf. You could just tell it by the way that she was playing on the course. It looked like she was going through the motions. On top of that, she was going through all these swing changes with David Ledbetter. We saw a lot of her athleticism get kind of shrunken down. Her swing got shorter. She started working on these things that necessarily weren't pertinent to what she had to work on. And eventually it just kind of all accumulated into a career that wasn't very impressive at all for all the hype that she had as a junior. Now let's take some time and pivot and talk about David Ledbetter's pivot to the A-swing, which is going to be this new modern way of swinging the golf club that he came up with to kind of rebrand himself and make him a little bit more fresh, a little bit new to the golf industry, because again, he was losing a little bit of popularity with all these other golf instructors popping up that had all these new modern theories. Again, I don't know if it was really just strictly business that he had to rebrand himself to kind of make himself popular again, or he just really did believe in these changes, or it could be accumulation, a little bit of both. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take a look at a video of him explaining the A-swing, backswing. I'm going to give you guys some comments on the video. It's really interesting as well. There's some criticism I have of the A-swing and the way he teaches it as well.
And it all starts really with the grip. It's a slightly different grip because conventionally we say, okay, we'll get the hand parallel on the club here. And so what we're suggesting...
Okay, to start this video off, it's going to be talking about the backswing with the A-swings. Particularly, he's going to start off with a different grip, and it's actually a lot different than what you see most people teaching. Now, he's talking about here in terms of parallel on the grip. He's talking about if the lead hand was in a fashion like this, which would be slightly strong. Typically, what you're going to see most people teach is the right hand is going to come under like this and kind of match it on the grip, or he calls it parallel. Now, what he teaches is he likes to see the lead hand slightly strong, maybe 2 to 3 knuckles, and then he wants to see the right hand on top of the grip like this. Now, in his personal opinion, if you can grip the club this way, he says it's going to make it a lot easier to get the club head from not moving inside on the takeaway section, as well as opening up the face angle. Now, my personal opinion, I feel like, yes, it could be potentially easier. However, it doesn't necessarily correlate to the club head not moving in. And honestly, I really don't feel like it's that big of a deal, honestly, depending on kind of where you grip the club. You just have to have really good wrist conditions. And let me kind of explain. So if I take my lead hand and I move it like he wants it to move, which is right around 2 knuckles here, I put my right hand like this. What happens here is I still have a range of motion to move my wrist in this fashion. Now, because I have a range of motion to move my wrist in that fashion, if I can do that right around the takeaway section, you're going to see that the club head is going to get inside and the face angle is going to be opening up. So again, hopefully I just kind of debunked that right there. Even if you get his grip, it doesn't necessarily make it easier for you to actually get the club moving in the right direction. Now from here, I'm going to press play. We're going to watch a little bit more. There's some interesting other parts about this backswing with the A-swing.
That we never get the club head behind our hands. The big problem that we see with so many golfers, and the great thing with the A-swing, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's an approach. It's not necessarily so much a method. It's like an organic approach where you...
I definitely call it a method.
Work on 1 or 2 little things and it improves the other things down the line. In other words, your impact position is going to be improved.
And by the way, for you golf instructors out there, I don't know why everyone nowadays is saying a method is a bad thing. I think having a method, especially when you're teaching a lot of just amateur golfers who don't have a lot of time to work on their golf swings, I think having a systemized approach is really good for those type of clients. Now, if you're going to be teaching professional golfers who have all types of unique golf swings, obviously a method is not going to work for them. However, methods aren't that bad, guys. If it's for the right person, it's not a bad thing. So stop hating on the methods out there.
This is going to be improved, your balance is going to improve. And so by having this grip, it allows us to take the club back in a way you can see that the club face looks at the ball.
So there you go. So if you have this grip, it's going to allow you to take the club back in a way to where you can actually get the club head outside the hands. And we just kind of debunked that. We can kind of go like this. The club head's going to get behind the hands. I can have any type of grip and still keep the club head in front of the hands as long as you have proper wrist conditions. Now, if you're not so mobile, certain grips might be more difficult to keep the club head in front of your hands. However, his grip doesn't necessarily make it easier than other grips.
And as you can see, as I swing it back here, I move my body. It's not like I just move my hands and my arms. We're always focusing on the word core. Okay, we use the core. We move the abdominal area. And as I do this, you can see, look where the club head is. I set the club in a way that it's fairly steep. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for this angle going.
So again, that is another thing that is probably different from the A-swing. A lot of you guys are probably thinking about Matthew Wolff right now. What he was saying back then was he wanted to see the club shaft pretty steep, anywhere from pretty much ball line to pointing halfway in between ball line and the toe line, I think is kind of his parameters. However, for most people, that is a little bit on the steeper side, but nothing like too crazy. Nothing like Matthew Wolff, who actually almost points the club head, or sorry, the grip end almost at his heel line.
Back. And then conventionally, or conversely, I should say, it's against convention. Convention says we should be here. But conversely, from here, as I move my body, the club actually shallows out onto the...
And this is something I want to talk about because I find this incredibly false for a lot of my clients personally who do have a steeper club shaft on the backswing. Most of the time, you actually do see them get, if anything, even steeper on the downswing, or at least maintain, which then in turn means they're going to be incredibly steep with the pitch of the club shaft. So I've seen a lot of instructors kind of roll this out lately. Hey, if you can get steep right here, automatically shallows on the golf or on the downswing. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there can also attest for your own games, so that probably doesn't necessarily happen, right? So that is something also I don't really like the wording that he's talking there, like it automatically does this. He didn't really say automatically, however, he's kind of inferring that it automatically would do that. I personally don't agree with that.
Well, very upright and steep. We're not trying to get the arms up. That's the thing that we don't want to sort of confuse. We want a fairly upright swing with the shaft, but a fairly flat swing with the arms. So you can see my arms are...
Okay, and this is another thing I'm not really a big fan of with this golf swing as well. So if you're going to get a really vertical club shaft and then you're going to get the lead arm really low below the shoulder line, what does that mean? Well, it means that your hands are not very far away from the golf ball, as opposed to a swing where the lead arm is on the shoulder line or above. Now, if the club shaft is going to be a little bit more on a cross the line position at the top, kind of what he's almost teaching with that really steep club shaft at P3, that means that you need to have time to allow the club shaft to kind of get back onto a, let's call it a decent plane, so you can actually enter into the golf ball from a decent position. So if you have a much shorter swing, it becomes much more difficult to do that. Hence, when you typically see people who have a cross-the-line club shaft position who play on the tour, they tend to be the longer swingers out there on the tour. You don't see too many people have a really short swing besides maybe Matthew Wolff, who are getting really crossed at the top and being able to kind of play and function at a high level. So again, wrapping up on kind of his A-swing in terms of the backswing, what we're seeing here is unconventional grip. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. We're also seeing that the lead arm is going to be really low there, and then he's talking about the club shaft at position B3 being very steep. And then I'm sure there's some other stuff on the downswing, but I really don't care to kind of watch it. And personally, in my opinion, I'm not really too impressed with the A-swing. I've seen other people explain a similar type of swing in a lot better way as well. So to wrap up David Ledbetter, definitely you can't hate on the guy too much. I mean, the amount of wins that he's gotten from his tour players and the amount of majors he's gotten from his tour players is incredibly impressive. The business that he's created is incredibly impressive. He's got to be one of the most highest paid golf instructors in the world, most likely up there with Butch Harmon, maybe some other guys like that. So in those regards, yes, very, very impressive. And I'm sure when you teach, or if he teaches you one-on-one, I'm sure he's a great golf instructor as well. However, in terms of the A-swing method, not really a huge fan, but everything else, I guess I could say it's pretty good. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video.